I know this is going to sound really goofy, but I just want to show you one thing I use. So we have this box of Ferrero Rocher. It's some of my favorite candies. And it came at Christmas time, and the box is fantastic. It's like a real hard plastic. And I've been using this as a palette. So I put all my paint on it, and when I'm done, but I don't want to get rid of my paints because I have too much on my palette, I will literally just put this lid back on and I leave it out on my table. I've tried different wet palettes. I've tried putting paper towels on my paints, put them in the fridge, reusable palettes. And everything is really personal choice. So use what you want. And you can use paper plate. I use that a lot too, or a styrofoam plate, because the paper plate sucks up the liquid out of my acrylic paints. I did find that out. But anyway, I wanted to let you know that this works really nice, or anything like it. And as long as it's got a sealing lid, and I just leave it out on the table. And I mean, I've come back after days and had wet paint. So that's kind of good. Anyway, I just kind of want to let you know that one thing before we got started. Let's go. I want to show you that this midweek masterpiece is going to be this picture, or a version of this picture. Not even, well, it's just an idea. But I got this idea by putting it into Meta AI, and they have a beta test right now for canvas painting, and this is supposed to look like a canvas painting, which ours is going to look a lot different because I'm not fond of the crosses and I want to put another stone in, but I wanted a good idea of what we were going to do. So this is where I got the idea. Okay, so we are going to draw, or paint, I'm sorry, the 3 crosses over the cliff with the cave and the rock coming off of out of the opening up the cave. And so I kind of drew this out. I need to probably draw another rock here, showing that it's in front of the cave. And we can do that whenever we're towards that part. But right now we're going to use phthalo blue and white. And let's do the sky. I have a 1-inch brush, flat brush for now. I might have to go to a filbert. But a 1-inch flat brush. Oop, can you see that? And I dipped it in just a little bit of water. And I'm just going to use a tiny bit of blue and a lot of white. We're going to make that sky kind of a light blue, whatever color you'd like. And I am using an 8x10. This is a black canvas because it's just something I had available. Now I'm going to continue to add blue and white just to make more paint. And of course, dip my brush into water. I have to get the water closer. And let's go ahead and we'll put this up here. Yeah, a little darker to cover that black. And I'll probably have to go over it a couple times, which is fine. Let's see, let's just use all the white I have here, make a lot of blue and white, and we're just going to do a light blue sky. Pretty simple. I'm just, painting it on there any old shape. I'm going to kind of go close to the cross, oops, at least so I can kind of remember where it's at there. And we'll make it a little bit bigger to consume that white. And it's okay if it's got a little bit of black in that background, or white if your canvas is white, whatever color you happen to have. If you're using a used canvas, it could be multiple colors if you didn't cover it. Okay, so we're going to just outline a little cross. Oops. That kind of stuff we can always get back. We can paint as we go, make it any shape we want to make it. And let me cover that a little bit more. I still see that black pretty too much through there. And go back over here. Let's get this kind of covered. I have a little white, which is good. And, oops, I'm gonna need some more. Sorry about that. Make sure you can see this. I'm kind of limited on space here today. I have to get a little more white and blue. Just phthalo blue and your your titanium white. Sorry, I hate dropping things, but I do all the time. Drop my paintbrushes. So let's see. And this is, I'm just using essentials. This titanium white and phthalo blue. I think this came from, I don't know, Hobby Lobby maybe. I usually get my paints at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, whatever's on sale. I will use craft paints, professional paints. It just kind of depends on what's on sale and what I'm painting, because the professional paints are a lot thicker. And of course, a lot nicer than the craft paints. And I mixed a little craft white into this, so it's a little runny, but that's okay. So we're just gonna paint the blue and white here, just mix blue and white, get this sky put into place here. And we can always add clouds later if we want to cover part of it. Make it darker if we want to. And a little more white and blue. Blend that. Oops, I just shot some paint over there. No telling what I'm painting blue and white over there. Okay, might be a dog. Yeah, I know. Let's see. Sometimes the dogs just are in the way of my flying paint. They don't seem to care. Comes off of them pretty easily. Me, not so much. Okay. Well, it comes off the skin, just not clothes. I think everything I own has paint on it in some shape or form. And I did try that grandma stain remover. It does work on some paints, not on all of it. Okay. I just want to kind of cover the black here a little bit more. So I'm just kind of going over it. It doesn't really matter if it's white or blue. Get this, probably need a little more blue in there, huh? More like a cloud or a sky. Okay, so we're just gonna slap that on there real quick. And that's pretty simple. We might want to add clouds later. It kind of looks like rolling clouds there, doesn't it? And kind of blend it in just a little bit. Alrighty. Okay. Oops, showing the black through. So if you keep painting too much, of course, you end up unpainting. And I just was unpainting, so I've touched it too much. So let's go ahead and go on to our next colors, and I'll get those out and show them to you real quick. Okay, we're gonna start with, I've already got the phthalo blue, but we're gonna use the raw sienna and brown and the titanium white. And I want to let you know, I did look, I do believe that these essentials actually came from Walmart. So, I mean, I paint everywhere that I can. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's dip into the dark brown and a little white. And we're just gonna get a nice brown color just for the base. And let's do the crosses. I'm using a quarter inch angle brush. We're gonna try it and see if it works for me. And we're just going to pull it down there and across. We're just going to get these crosses into place. Okay, a little more paint. And probably need a flat brush, but this one will work for now. We will change brushes and use smaller ones anyway. I wanted to just kind of get it into place here. And this guy is going to be a little darker, smaller. Oops. He went a little too tall and too big, didn't he? So we're going to have to go over that with blue and hide that. But that's good. I can show you how to do that too. Let's make him a little taller, and we're going to put the cross beam maybe about there. And this we're just going to cover with blue. So I will show you how to do that here in a moment. First, we're going to let that dry before we do repair that. And let's go ahead and let me look at the greens here. We've got grass green and yellow ochre, and those were actually Master's Touch that I got the little sample pack for Christmas. I still have some of those. I'm just going to go ahead and use the green, and we're just going to put the grass in where the grass should be. Just started a little bit here, and I'm just going to use plain green. And on a black canvas, it will look different than a white canvas, but we're going to cover it. I just want to get a base color here over my black. And all this will be green. And this will be green. Now to about the rock here. That'll be a cliff, and we'll put another rock there. Sorry, I'm kind of talking as we go here. I'll do this down a little. Blended that with the blue, but that's all right. So there's my grass to start with. And we got to bring the grass up over here. also under those crosses. Okay. And just make that a little base color of green. And I am just going across the top, no rhyme or reason, kind of covering up my white lines. And what blue I didn't like in the background goes all the way to the edge of the cliff, kind of like that. And that's a good start. I'm going to, let's not rinse our brush. I'm going to grab a little of the yellow ochre. Let's see what color we can get here with the green. Maybe a little more yellow ochre. The green is wet on the canvas. So I kind of have an olive green. And we're just going to kind of add a little bit of the olive green into the dark green in places. I am just picking places to give it a little bit more color. It's kind of like dead grass, I guess, or dying grass, that color. And I'm just slapping it on there any old way. And we'll fix that up with more color when we go to make it really look like grass. Just add a little bit of that yellow ochre and green just to kind of bring out the color a little different. And it's on a cliff and it's grass, so it does not have to be perfect by any means. Somehow I got some white there from the blue. Okay. Sometimes I get colors and I have to remember where they came from. Alrighty, so there is that part. And I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush. And we're going to go ahead and let this dry because I don't want to drag the green into my rocks. So let's let this dry. We'll fix the cross and we'll fix the rocks, or paint the rocks. And I'll be back shortly and we'll fix it and paint it. So to fix this cross over here, I'm just going to use my 1/2 inch angle brush and a little bit of the phthalo blue and white, a lot of the white. I'm making a mess, but that's okay too. I'm a messy painter. Okay, and then we're just going to take it and we're going to cover this little guy up. Let's make it thinner. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let's get that blue in there. It's a little damp still. Get that brown back in there. A little blue. Oops, too much blue. A little white. Blend it in. And we can just make this side a little darker. This is all part of it. You have to really just kind of work with things. I am never, ever, ever perfect. I make mistakes on everything or happy little accidents. And I just try to figure out what color is going to work here the best. And cover that brown I keep dragging out there. Okay, one more, a little bit of white. Okay, and that's probably good there. We'll just blend this in. And gosh, I thought it was dry. This is what happens when the paint's not fully dry. We'll have a little shadow. And that's just okay. Doesn't bother me. And then just blend all that in. So there's my, oops, let's do a little more blue here. Okay, we'll kind of blend that in. Sorry you have to take time, but since you're watching a video, you can just fast forward past me fixing all this if you want to. Oh, got brown in the sky there. Let's cover that with some blue. And we'll cover that with brown. And we'll get all this in place here. And if we can still see this, I'll just cover it back up later. We'll put a cloud in there or some kind of shadow. That's a nice thing. It's our painting. We can make it look like we want it to look. I just put a little white up in here just because I kind of drug some of that brown up in there. See, I'm one of those ones. I got to touch it all the time. Okay. So now let's go ahead and start on the rocks with the dark brown and the raw umber. We're going to go ahead and use yellow ochre and white with it as well. And I think I'm going to use a different brush. I really like the, let's try, I don't know. This is a 1-inch filbert. We're gonna see if this works. Let's start first with even just a little little yellow ochre and some white. And let's go ahead and just kind of get these in place here where they're gonna be here. Oh, I'm kind of gonna keep that white line so I know where the break is gonna be. Now this is a rock, so it doesn't have to be smooth. Okay, and then this guy, a little more yellow ochre and white. And we're gonna go ahead and let's just paint all these rocks in so you can kind of see that white underneath that I've got here. And if you have a pencil drawing, if you have a drawing at all, then you'll be able to leave it so you can see the lines or not and fill it in later. And this is gonna be kind of sand right here. And so let's get a little more yellow ochre and white. And do these rocks here. I kind of had them spread out so I would know this is going to be the cave. And these guys are just the rocks on the outside of the cave. Like so. Yeah, and see, it's just kind of roughed in a little bit. I'm just making it all rough. Because when we put in the browns and grays, it'll make it look more like rock. Okay. So I got that in the sand. I kind of like that color for the sand right there. We might just leave that like it is. Kind of over that. Not so smooth. I'm just touching it. Okay. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to get I have this nice detail brush. I've showed it before in another video if you've seen it. It's number 4. And it's just a real nice little, like a liner. I don't know if you can even see it real well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the dark brown, straight dark brown on my tip. And we're going to go ahead and let's add a shadow, like about right here. We're going to kind of blend it in so it's going to be a shadow. We'll paint around it. And then up here, we've got kind of a shadow here mixed in with that. See that green is real dark right there? That actually works perfect. And then we'll have a shadow down to the big cave. Kind of blend it in a little bit there. And then we'll have a shadow. There's the cave, this long piece, like it's about right here. Another shadow here over the cave. And then over here between this rock and this guy. This will also help us spread the rocks out a little bit. So I'm just kind of putting the shadow in here, and then I'm going to go up here. And oops, not quite there. And that's okay too. Actually, that works great. So we'll just put that there, make a little shadow over the top. And it doesn't have to be, you know, straight line because it is kind of a shadow into the green. And then we'll pull it kind of up over here to make sure that the rocks, this is going to give it a little bit of depth and show that the rocks are down below, even more so than over here. So we'll just put in a little shadow here and then up in here. Yeah, that works good. And then we'll draw in the little cliff right here. And let's just put a little brown up here just so we know that we're going to put some sandy areas in here. Okay, and I'm just using the dark brown, kind of making my marks here. And we'll put a little sandy area in here to give it some depth. And then the cave, I'm going to use black. I don't want a solid black. Sorry, I have my paintbrush in my mouth. Let's try gray. I'm going to try the medium gray in the brown. Let's see what this looks like. Let's put this in the background here. We're going to see what it looks like. Okay, so this is the cave area with the brown and gray. And you can make this black if you'd like. I'll probably go over with more black before we're done, just to make it darker. You definitely want it to be dark to represent a cave. And with the same color, let's just make some marks here, like between these rocks and between these rocks. We'll just blend into that shadow. And up here, let's see, it kind of goes up here a little more. And over here, this is going to be quite dark because it is in the shadow of the cliff. We'll just kind of do it, add a little brown at the top, give a little shadow at the top. Even around the outside edge is good. Okay, there's that shadow. I'm just going to blend it in a little better. And then let's go ahead and let's make some marks here. Let's do yellow ochre. I did not clean my brush. I just dipped it in the yellow ochre. Let's do some marks here. Just to kind of bring it out a little bit. Just add some color, more yellow ochre. We'll kind of go over here, kind of go over that shadow. And I'm going to use the, let's use gray now. I did not wash my brush. Sorry, I got a little confused there. We're just going to use the gray. This is medium gray. And let's go ahead and make this rock here. And a little gray. This rock's kind of gray too. We're going to put it up here a little taller. I don't like where it was. But your tracer will be right. We're just going to put some gray marks in here and maybe add some gray up here, just along this long rock here, maybe in here. I picked up some brown. Let's add some more gray to my brush. Okay, now I'm going to get out some black. I have to find my black paint. It's amazing how purple looks like black in the tube. Okay, I can't find my black paint. Let me grab that real quick. Forever, but I did find some Mars black. I don't know why it wasn't sitting out here. And I'm going to use my same detailed brush. I did wash it and dried it off a little bit. We're going to dip into the black. I'm going to go ahead and paint this cave. I'm going to blend it into this brown and just make it a little darker. I personally don't want it to be dark or totally black because I just don't, I think it's just going to pop too much on the painting. And we also want to cover part of it with a rock over here, a stone. Okay, so there's the cave. Do a little more black. And smooth it out a little bit so it just kind of goes back in the back there. Okay, now with the black, I'm going to go ahead and let's make some marks between our rocks here. This rock and this rock kind of comes down like this. The shadow does anyway. And then over here, this guy gets a little edge. And it is blending in with the brown because my canvas was still wet whenever I started with the black, which is fine because I don't want it to be really dark. Over here, we're just going to go ahead and this had a shadow, but we're going to add a little bit of this black to the brown, make it more of a shadow, more of a rock. And over here, okay. And maybe just a little bit like right here on the edge. So it shows that it's sticking out, kind of like that. Alrighty then, now let's go ahead and I need a little more color. I think I need a lighter gray added to it. So I'm going to take my dirty brush. That's the color I had on the dirty brush. And I'm going to add some white to it. We're gonna make that light gray, and we're gonna just go in here and we're gonna add some light gray to the rocks. Just give it a little bit more. I don't like that shadow right there, so let me go ahead and round that out a little bit. We'll add gray here and up here, and I'm just touching the gray everywhere. And then if I get too much gray, we'll just go back over that, and let's kind of bring this straight down like it's an edge. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre on that dirty brush. I want the yellow back in there a little bit more. Oop, that was way too much, but that's okay. Go back to the gray, and I'm just going to mess with it to get it the color I want it to be. And maybe a little more gray. And on the edge here, it's definitely a ledge. Make it stick out a little more with the gray. Okay, I kind of like that. Add a little gray up here. I want to cover all the white. Okay, and we will cover some of that with grasses. And this kind of needs to be blended in, I think. It needs to be dark, just kind of looked a little funny, kind of stood out. I don't want it to really stand out. I want it to blend in, look more like a shadow. Kind of like that. And shadows in the grass. And that's a little too light, so I'm going to go back to the dark brown and add that back in up here. Just make that more of a shadow there. And if we don't like it, we can always add black. Let's add a little touch of black, barely touch of black. We'll go back up and make this more of a shadow over that rock. Just because I'm gonna go ahead and add that. See that gray's coming out on that little. So now I cleaned my brush. I actually got disconnected on the video, but I hope you got everything. Clean my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of the dark brown back in here, kind of just little streaks. Make it look a little bit more like a rock. See those streaks? Kind of blend it in a little because it's still wet, which is great. But I just want it to be multicolored so it looks like rock. And it looks different than the rest. And we'll add a little more dark brown over here, just a little. Oops, that's too much, but that's okay. He can be in a shadow. And this rock and this one. So there's your hillside or your cliff. And he needs, I'm gonna go back to the yellow, give it a little bit of yellow. I just kind of want it to be messy. Yellow, gray, browns, you know, make it a little messy. That's probably more in the sun, so it's a little brighter. Now I'm going to, let's go ahead and I'm going to darken up the sand just a little bit with a little bit of the dark brown down here. Just a little bit, kind of make it look a different color, like it's coming out of the cave. It's the sand part coming out of the cave. We can drag down a little bit of the black too, and around here. And that's great. So I want to go ahead and make a stone in front of here because I did not actually draw that in, or it wasn't on the original painting. So I'm going to take a little bit of the gray and we're just going to put maybe right here. And it's going to kind of cover the cave like it came out from around in front of the cave. It's got to be about the same size or a little bigger. And I'm just going to fill that in with gray. And we're going to do the same thing as we did with the other rocks. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre and lighten it up just a little bit. I'm going to take the dark brown, go around the edge. And of course it's going to be a rough edge since it's a stone. So just do a little brown around the edge. And then we will blend it all in here shortly. I don't want it to be curvy. I just want it to be rough. Okay, so we'll go ahead and blend that in just a little bit so it's not so doesn't have edges. I don't like the rough edges. And we're gonna add a little bit of light gray. And that's kind of all blended. So we're gonna let that sit and dry, and then we'll change the color. I'm gonna clean out my brush now, and I'm gonna take the dark brown, and let's work on the crosses a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and build this guy back up. Like so. And do his cross beam here. Does not have to be perfect. It was old wood. At least I think it was when they built them. So we'll make this a little dark brown. And we're gonna do the cross beam. Ooh, I had a lot of paint on my brush there, sorry. And like that, too much paint. And we'll go ahead and do this guy here. And I am just using that detail brush I have, and it's just full of paint, and I'm just dragging it up and down because it does not need to be perfect. Like I said, I do believe it was, you know, the old wood they used back then. They didn't have our normal 1x6s or whatever they use, and this guy's a little bit smaller. Okay. Like so. So now we've got our crosses. Let's go ahead and I'm going to rinse this brush out. And I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow ochre and white. I want just kind of a goldy color. And let's kind of add a little bit down here for, oh, that's a little too bright. Let's add a little bit of the dark green with that. Or the grass green. Yeah, it's too bright too. Maybe a little bit of, maybe a little bit of the blue. Let's try blue and yellow ochre. Let's see. It's a kind of a mishmash of colors. Mishmash? Is that what you say, mishmash? There we go. So that is yellow ochre, green, and the phthalo blue. All blended, and a touch of white all blended together. I just want a little different grassy color down here. And thought the yellow ochre would work, but it was just a little too yellow. So give it some shadows, make it different colors down here for the grass. And my strokes, I'm just going back and forth, barely touching the canvas, adding a little bit of texture. And up here, we're gonna add a little texture up here because this is that divot. Kind of make it looks like it's stuck, you know, something stuck in there and dug it out. And up here, we'll add a little more up here. Just a little bit extra color, even up here. Maybe cover the base there. We will go over that with maybe some other grasses. And that can be light. And I'm going to use a little bit more of the green back in here because it really is lighter and greener. Okay, and that's okay. Now, we've got that done. Let's rinse our brush. And I'm going to take the raw umber. Raw umber, not raw sienna, raw umber. And let's see if we can blend this in just a little bit. And I am just adding a little touch of raw umber. We'll add gray as well. And you want to go up and down the way the wood's going. And then across, right? Just a little bit, just to kind of give it a highlight. Oops, that's way too much, but that's okay. I'm going to go back over that with the dark brown. If you add too much, just add a little more dark brown. As you can see, I've got a pretty sloppy brush. I just want to get the paint on there right now. Okay, so there's the crosses. I'm going to rinse my brush. And now I'm going to take some of that medium gray, and let's give this a shot and see what happens. Might be a little too wet. I'm just going to put it on over the top just to give it some lines, some texture. And it's kind of blending into that raw sienna, which is great. Just give it a little different color. I want to fill that in because I don't like the marker made there. And let's fill this in down here. Like that. And I'm just adding just a little gray lines. This one's still pretty wet, but that's okay. I want some gray there too. And the brown. Try to kind of make it match here a little bit. Yeah. That's a little too long, isn't it? But that's okay. It can be long. All right. So now we've got these guys. And I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to take a little bit of that, yellow ochre and just a touch of the phthalo blue. And blend that into that olive color we made. Some more olive here. And let's go ahead and like give it some grasses. I flattened out the brush. If you push the brush down and flip it and push the brush down, you get it. It's going to be flat. And I'm putting that flat edge against the canvas very lightly, and I'm just going up and down to put those grasses in like this. Just a little grass here and there. Cover the bottom of the crosses. Not that it's necessary, I don't think it had grass, but it does make the bottom of the crosses look a little better, I think. You don't have to add it. But we're gonna add little grasses here and there. And I'm just barely touching the canvas, going up and down, making some of those lines. And add a little grass. I'm going into the bottom area too, just a little bit, just marking it up there. And now you have it. Now let's go ahead. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And I'm gonna add some of the gray into this rock and some of the yellow ochre. Just give a little color here. Just mark it with some lines so you know it's there. And the gray. So I'm using gray and yellow ochre. Kind of make it the color I want it for that front stone. Kind of like that. So now you've got all your stones, you've got your crosses. I think the crosses probably need a little bit of light gray. So I'm going to take the gray and blend it with just a touch of white. Let's make that a lighter gray. And let's give it a little bit of marks here with, I'm on the very tip of my brush. Just making a few marks, barely touching the canvas. See that? And you can make the brush flat by pushing it down, flip it over, push it down, or use a flat brush. I just happen to like this one, the detail brush. And I'm just barely going over that with gray, the gray and white color to lighten it up a little bit. Let's do gray and white. Flatten my brush. Go over this way and this way. And that's it. So I just added a little white and a little of the gray. And then I flattened my brush down. That's all I did. And then I went over it up and down with the lines. Kind of blends in. And you want to go the way the wood goes, this way and then this way. Okay? And I think I'll add some of that light gray maybe to the top of the rocks as well. Give it a little bit of a shine here. And I'm just barely touching it. I'm kind of scrubbing in that gray into these rocks to blend in with those other colors we have there. And I'm just going to kind of make it look rough. And this one gets a little scrubbed in gray. It went over the, that's okay, I went over the cave a little bit, that's fine. Over here, we'll do a little gray. Not much, because it's actually pretty bright over there. And I think we're good. So, this was from the Meta AI artificial intelligence. Kinda, sorta. So I'll make sure you have the original picture and you can paint it any way you want, and I will list my the colors and how we did everything. And I'm glad you got to see me make a happy little accident and fix that up. But right now I kind of like it. I could add more grass. I could add some clouds. I mean, we could touch it forever. So I hope you do it. If you do it, please let me know and post it so I can see it. Oh, my glasses. And I just look forward to seeing everything. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate ya. Let me know if you paint it. Make sure you post it. Thanks. Bye.